You can now spend more time talking about things from over the weekend and concentrate on that
Sure.
because you had basketball on your mind last night. Again, the
I've
phone
still
number
got basketball
888.
on my mind, Phil.
Well,
And
it's
it is
always
indeed
on
a
your
Talking
mind. I get that.
Tuesday. And it is indeed a Talking Tuesday. It's just basketball coaches are talking now instead of football coaches.
Yeah, yeah. Nice change of pace. Nice change
Mhm.
of pace. Phone number 888-898-2525. Go ahead and grab the lines and get in line, and we'll get to you. We are at the beach. We are here for the Touchstone Energy Cooperative Bowl Week. This is a celebration of high school football in South Carolina. You've got the Coaches Hall of Fame inductions later on this week. You've got the combine on Friday night over at Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium that will involve top juniors and seniors in the state. You've got all kind of activities involving the bowl game, the All-Star Bowl game. The players arrived today here in Myrtle Beach, and they took a little walk through at the stadium, see about where they're going to be practicing and the protocol for going to the locker rooms and getting their equipment, things like that, things you want to learn before you hit the practice field first thing tomorrow. And there will be two practices tomorrow and on Thursday and also on Friday, though that last practice on Friday is kind of a light thing. But I'm sure they'll have it because, they've cut the practices down from 5 days to 3 days. So you want to take advantage of every practice opportunity that you have to get as much done. It's a game where, like football itself, the game's evolved to where they've simplified things, and the idea is to have a pass-happy offense, throw the ball around the park, score a lot of points, and show excitement that way. So, they've eliminated a lot of the other stuff that goes into a normal football practice and a normal football game. But it is football nonetheless, and of course, we'll have the broadcast for you here on our stations around the state who are taking it. More on that later in the week. At halftime of the broadcast, we'll have the announcement of Mr. Football in South Carolina for you. That will be a live announcement that if you're not here and if you're not looking at X or Instagram, the best place to find out who won Mr. Football is right here live with us over the airwaves. Now, before we get anything else, I'm just seeing this. And Chris, maybe you can share some light on this. I don't know. Danny Kelly covers Coastal Carolina, has tweeted out about a half hour ago, Coastal will have a press conference tomorrow at 1:30 at
Correct.
the Theater Auditorium in the Lib Jackson Student Union. The reason for the presser remains to be determined. All right. What does this mean?
I have no idea. I really don't. I got the same email that you got and that Danny Kelly got. I'm not sure. I mean, we could speculate. I'm pretty positive it has nothing to do with football, I wouldn't think. Though I think it was this time last year that Coastal introduced Tim Beck as its new head football coach, but I can't imagine it has anything to do with football because if they were going to do a presser for the Hawaii Bowl, it would be, you would think, over at the football stadium. My guess, it might have something to do with basketball. I don't know, though.
Cliff Ellis?
Very, very possible. Mm-hmm. Would be the only thing I could speculate.
Oh.
I don't know.
Could this be it?
Again, your guess is as good as mine. I got the same information that you just read.
Yeah,
that's all I know.
Well, I'm asking you
because
you're
tried to touch base over there and haven't heard back.
You're as close to the man as anybody. I mean, you see him day in, day out during the basketball season. So, I mean, you get any hint from him? You sense anything from him?
No, he keeps talking about how excited he is. Matter of fact, celebrating his birthday today. He turns 21, according to Mrs. Ellis. That's what she told me last night.
Yeah.
It's 21 then some. But yeah, no, he seems very surprised. I know one thing that has bothered him, and he's not alone in this regard. He's not a big fan of the current makeup with regards to college athletics, period, especially the transfer portal and how it affects basketball at his level. I mean, I could put together, and he could as well, I could put together a Sun Belt All-Star team with just the guys they've lost in the last 5 years up to the Power 5 level. So I know he does not like that. But aside from that, he has not given any indication that he's ready to hang it up, hang the shoes up, hang the whistle up. But I mean, if that is indeed the case tomorrow, I couldn't blame him a bit. 49 years in the business just on the college side, much less what he's done in high school. He actually told me couple of months back, we were just chit-chatting, and he told me one dream he had, because he never expected to be coaching this long, but one dream he told me he had at one point in time was to move to the beach and open up a miniature golf course.
Huh. Well, I know somebody who could help him with that if he's really interested in doing that. I've got contacts in the miniature golf course business. I can promise you that. Well, now what time is that thing tomorrow?
1:30.
Well, that's perfect because I think it's a 2:00 press conference tomorrow involving the Touchstone Energy Bowl folks and the program that they are involved with about fighting opioids. The coaches in South Carolina fighting the opioid situation. They're having a press conference tomorrow, so that's at 2. So I think, are you coming in this is the first time you and I have talked about this, so we're doing this over the air. Are you planning on coming to the Coastal thing?
Yes, I will be there. As a matter of fact, even if we talked late this afternoon, we would not have covered this because the release didn't go out until about 5:15 this afternoon.
Yeah, so we'll both be there, and then I'll peel off and go to the high school thing, and
Nice.
We'll be at practices tomorrow. So we got a lot going on down here. We'll have it covered for you tomorrow. Meantime, a lot going on in the football world. Just checking in and seeing a couple of things. I mentioned Makuba, and also I'm seeing here where it's being reported that Juice Wells, that Texas and Tennessee, according to On3 reporting, they've emerged as schools to watch, according to sources telling Pete Nakos. Tennessee and Texas, schools to watch there for him. And then we're also seeing that Chris Tyree is transferring from Notre Dame to Virginia. So he's announced that. That's a big pickup for Tony Elliott and the crew over there. And let's see, there was one other note that I just came across. I'll have to go back and find it here very quickly. Let's see here. Oh, one thing I want to mention too, and South Carolina. Now, South Carolina has taken to using the Garnet Trust, which is their internal NIL program now. Okay, and so what they've been doing since yesterday, since the Portal John opened, they are announcing players who are returning to South Carolina, but they're using this Garnet Trust NIL as sort of the focal point and signing. They are promoting that individual players have signed with the Garnet Trust. So I am taking that to mean that they are signing players to NIL deals to stay at South Carolina, which I take to mean that you're paying your players to stay and not to leave. Select players you're making NIL deals with to stay and not leave. So far, for example, they've announced the following signings for the Garnet Trust: Josh Simon, Bam Martin Scott, Tree Babalati, Tonka Hemingway, Luke Doty, and Alex Huntley, and Jelon Kilgore, and TJ Sanders. So this is South Carolina's way of, I guess, announcing that players are staying. They're doing so, the way I take it, by indicating that these individuals have signed NIL deals with the Garnet Trust, meaning they're going to get whatever money is part of those deals, which to me implies that you're paying players to stay and not leave. That's good. That's bad. You can determine in your own mind if you like it or not, but I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think they've realized that's the only way they're able to keep players now. And you wonder, all right, what was the deal with, say, a Tree Babalati that was more attractive for him versus, you would think for sure they offered this to Juice Wells too, right? I mean, did they not meet his asking price? I mean, clearly we're starting to get into a bidding war. And I saw earlier today that the NCAA president, you and I were chatting about this morning, the NCAA president is pushing towards a model that would actually have the schools pay the kids directly. And I think if they actually want to get a hold on NIL and, let's face it, pay for play, let's take NIL out of the mix, because that's not what it is. These kids aren't using their name or their image may be using their likeness, but they're using their athletic skills to make money. So they're being paid to play. So, but that model, I think, is the only way they can put the genie back in the bottle and unionize the kids, have them sign contracts, the whole 9 yards, and make it just like the pros. Because let's face it, that's who they are.
Yeah, that pretty much is, slices it up right there and describes it well. And again, this is the way South Carolina's doing it. I kind of, I don't know. Again, being a kind of an anti all this sort of stuff, I don't like any of it. But if that's the way they think they have to do it to retain their players, then that's what you do. I think there should be transparency. How much are they paying the players? Why aren't these deals made public? Just like professional deals are made public. I mean, if you're getting paid by an outside source, if you're getting car deals or just flat out cash, why aren't these deals being made public? One thing that they talk about is more transparency. Well, what could be more transparent than making public the deals that you're making with your players to keep them? This is all across the country I'm talking about, not just at Clemson and South Carolina. Let's be transparent then. You're paying them, you're taking the money of hardworking folks. And I also believe, as I think I mentioned this the other night, maybe I didn't. You got head coaches making $5-6 million a year. In the case of Dabo Swinney, almost $10 million a year. Yet you're asking, the average South Carolinian makes about $50,000 a year, the average. So you're asking people who make what, 1/10 of what you make to give money to give to players that you can coach, and you don't have to put a dime in. You don't have to put a dime in. The schools don't have to put a dime in. They want you, the fan, to fund it. That's the whole other part of this thing that I find totally insane, is that the schools have found their sugar daddies, and their sugar daddies are the men and women and boys and girls, in the case of our state, of the people of South Carolina, who buy into this stuff, who buy into this nonsense that we've got to pay players to have a winning football team or a winning basketball team. I guess I really shouldn't call it nonsense. It is the way of the world today. But they've convinced people that it's funny how this has evolved if you follow college sports over all the decades. If you're South Carolina, you go back. I remember as a kid when Paul Dietzel started a campaign, he wanted artificial turf at Carolina Stadium before it became Williams-Brice. So they started a campaign for Gamecock fans to contribute money to carpet the cockpit. That was the slogan, carpet the cockpit. And then over time, of course, it's your various IPTAY and Gamecock clubs. Well, we got to raise money to build the facilities. We got to have a dorm for the athletes, okay? And it's got to be nicer than the dorm up the road. Oh, and then we have to have the academic building for the athletes and the tutors. But it's got to be nicer than the one up the road. Oh, and then we have to have the more luxurious dining facility for the athletes. But it's got to be nicer than the one up the road. So, give to no end. And now forget about facilities, forget about dining rooms, forget about weight rooms. It's about pure pay to play. Give us your cash so we can give it to the players, so we can try to retain them.
We can try and go out and buy them and build the best roster that we can every year. This is a turnover after turnover situation where every year the schools are going to need more and more money to build a roster. Under the current system, I see no way out of that.
Phil, two things. I think you answered part of your own question when you were asking why this isn't public. And I could be wrong here, but the way I view it is these are private donations. It's not publicly funded. So we know any employee of their universities, well, they're getting tax dollars. So that becomes public information. But if these are private donations, and I feel as though that might be why we're seeing it structured that way, is if it directly came from the school, then it could be construed as public funds. But since it's via donations from fans, it therefore becomes private. If I'm understanding that right.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Sure.
You probably don't even remember this, but I remember it well. Back when football programs were a thing, when I say programs, the thing you used to read at games. Remember those things? You'd buy a football program at a game.
Oh yeah, still have them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thumb through those older ones. I don't know if they still have them, but you get to the Gamecock Club page or you get to the IPTAY page, and what do you see? Donations with people's names and the amount of money that they gave to the Gamecock Club.
If they want to,
gave
they have a choice.
That's correct. I guess they do have a choice. There are some anonymous, but most are public. So, I mean, if you're willing to put your name by a $10,000 gift to the Gamecock Club or IPTAY, why wouldn't you be willing to put your name by a $500 gift or a $10,000 gift to NIL? It's not dirty money. It's not illegal. Why wouldn't you want it to be known? But
Well,
go ahead.
I understand. And again, I could be wrong with this too, but are you comfortable telling everybody listening right now your salary? How much you make from Sports Talk and sponsors? Are you okay sharing all that information, or
Sure,
do you think that's private?
Absolutely. I make $250,000 a month. All right. What else you want to know? You want to know my taxes?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean,
I pay 32%.
private.
Yeah. What else you want to know?
Pat and I are going on strike as of right now.
That's right. If that's what you're
money
making.
you're pulling in.
And then also, this now was a few minutes ago, and wanted to make sure you could get all that out there, and appreciate everything you're saying. Talking about the players that now maybe entered the portal and now have withdrawn from the portal and are electing to stay, and the presumption being, well, okay, well, they're being paid, or some of which is becoming public knowledge. They're being paid from, what was you said, the Garnet Trust or some other organization?
Garnet Trust,
Personally, and again, we're going to disagree on this. I applaud the players. Kudos to them. They're seeing their coaches do the same thing. How often do we see head coaches or assistant coaches flirt with other coaching opportunities? Like, oh, hey, guys, I'm interviewing for a job at XYZ SEC school or Big Ten school, whatever. And they're only doing that to leverage their current employer into increasing their salary. Like we saw certain coaches, Carolina and Clemson, we've seen it time and time again. They'll go interview at an Arkansas, a Texas A&M, a Georgia, whatever. And they don't really have the intention of going, but it's almost a bluff. And they just want to get a raise out of their current employer. And so now we're seeing players do the same thing. And again, if the players who we like to view as quote unquote the kids, well, they're learning from the so-called adults in the room how to do this. So if the adults in the room are doing it, why shouldn't the players?
That's true. But according to the NCAA, they're not employers of the players. The players are not employees. So how can there be collective bargaining or any kind of bargaining or negotiating like it is in the case of a coach who is an employee?
Yep.
So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that's probably true. I mean,
you hit the nail on the head there, though.
Some of these players might have flirted with some other places. You know, we had heard that Tonka Hemingway had some offers from other places, in particular LSU. So maybe that came home to roost, no pun intended, at South Carolina. That came home to roost, and they increased the ante for him. You know, they did a better deal for him. I don't know. This is perfectly valid speculation. It's you know what? People can criticize us for talking like this about players at South Carolina or Clemson or anywhere else. But what else are we supposed to do? What else are we supposed to think with the way things are played out now? You know, I don't think there's any other conclusion to be reached other than the fact that South Carolina's worked out NIL deals to keep these players. And, I mean, I'm not so sure it's great PR to use signed to an NIL deal to show that a player is staying versus a player just hiding the fact and coming out and saying, hey, I'm coming back. Let's run it back. We unfinished business, rah, rah, rah. No, they're just flat out coming out and saying, we've signed this player to an NIL deal, and thus he's not leaving. So we paid him. We bought him. We kept him.
Yeah. To Chris's point earlier, that's why this that plays directly into current or new NCAA President Charlie Baker's proposal today with these sweeping changes to the way it'll work within Division I athletics. I believe for now, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, it was just Division I programs, I believe, was the proposal that he sent out today. But that plays directly into that, Phil, where now it does allow the universities to no longer hide behind, look, we all knew it was BS when universities were pretending like they weren't directly paying these guys. Hey, guys, we're not the ones paying it. We're not paying you to come here for recruiting, because that was supposedly still a violation. You could not use NIL as a recruiting tool, but it obviously was blatantly happening all across the country. This, to your point, now brings that more out into the light, and it's no longer happening in dark alleyways and stuff like that.
All right, we want to continue with this conversation, and we want to do it on the phone with you, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery, lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour, so we'll take it to the bottom of the hour, and then we'll get to your phone calls. So go ahead and jump on board, 888-898-2525. Take a bunch of phone calls. And Nebraska OC Marcus Satterfield, formerly of USC, and Ohio State transfer quarterback Kyle McCord were to meet today. This according to On3 Sports. So they're looking to – that's an interesting deal there at Ohio State. I mean, this is a guy who was a starter at Ohio State and had a great season. Just didn't
and he wants to go to
Michigan,
Nebraska?
and now he wants to transfer out. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make any
Nebraska
sense to
is
you?
horrible. Yeah, no, it makes zero sense. You got one of the cush positions in all of college football. You're the starting quarterback at Ohio State University. There are only about, 3 or 4 other positions in college football that maybe are more high profile than that. And, I mean, do you have somebody that they've recruited? Clearly don't follow Ohio State recruiting all that well. Is there somebody in the pipeline that he feels he's not going to be able to beat out moving forward, so he's not even going to try? I mean, this made zero sense when I saw it come down.
Yeah, crazy. But it's par for the course this time of the year. Let's see, what else do we have in here for you tonight? Oh, our poll question. This will be the final night of it, and then we'll change it tonight for the basketball game. So the reaction to the college football playoff field, 533 votes are in. It's gotten a little tighter. 46.9% say it's the right 4. 35.3% Florida State should be in, Alabama out. 12.9% say that Georgia should be in and Texas out. And 4.9% say Florida State should be in and Texas out. So basically, about 40% say Florida State should be in the field in place of somebody else.
What was the consensus last night of our callers when they called in to chat about this last evening? Since
it was kind of mixed. It was kind of mixed. I think we had a little bit of both, to be honest with you. Some people agreed with the committee that without the quarterback, Florida State was not a whole football team. Others thought that Florida State, with their record and the fact they won the ACC championship, had done enough to get in. So it was kind of a split deal. All right, we'll hit the break on Sports Talk. When we come back, we'll dive into your phone calls. 888-898-2525. Back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool overnight with a low dipping down to 41. Tomorrow, all kinds of sun and a nice breeze to go with a high temp of 58. The sun continues the rest of the week. We stay dry and cooler with highs in the upper 50s and lows in the 30s. Friday, some clouds roll in, but we're back into the 60s. I'm Casey Whitener with your On Point local weather.
Hi, I'm Glenn Matthews.
And I'm Melanie Matthews.
And we are the 3rd generation owners of Modern Exterminating Company.
In a time when corporate consolidation, high-pressure door knockers, and inexperienced startups are becoming the norm, isn't it nice to have an experienced, local, family-owned company that you can count on since 1955?
Modern Exterminating has been the local, independent industry leader in the pest control business for the last 67 years. Experience the local, family-owned difference for yourself at 803-765-2315 or pestfreesc.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the Senate in a single stroke has approved about 425 military promotions after Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama ended a month-long blockade of nominations over a Pentagon abortion policy. Tuberville had been under pressure from members of both sides of the political aisle to end his holds, as senators complained about the toll it was taking on service members and their families and on military readiness. Israel says its troops have entered Gaza's second-largest city, has intensified bombardments and streams of ambulances and cars racing to hospitals with wounded and dead Palestinians. The military says its forces are in the heart of Khan Yunis, which has emerged as the first target in the expanded ground offensive into southern Gaza. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 79 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Ho, ho, ho. 'Tis the season to shop where Santa always shops. That's at Shooter's Choice, Santa's first stop. Have you been naughty or nice? Shooter's Choice has been awesome with their brand new, huge showroom to make your Christmas shopping a great experience. A massive space of firearms, ammo, and accessories to choose from. Benelli, Sig, Glock, Colt, Henry rifles, Bergara rifles, Franke, Stoger. I mean, come on. You have every major brand to choose from at Shooter's Choice. And to make it a simple job, let the pros at Shooter's Choice help you with Christmas selections. You just can't decide? Well, no problem. Gift cards are the answer. They always make shopping easy. Santa's marking down prices on new items up to Christmas Eve, and along with the daily and weekly specials, well, you will not be disappointed. Fill your Christmas wish list, save hundreds of dollars. If your sleigh can't make it to Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia, shop online at shooterschoicesc.com and have it shipped down your chimney, or at least to your front door. Merry Christmas from Shooter's Choice. Your Christmas shopping spree starts with your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Hey, y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. During this holiday season, families and friends like to get together to celebrate Christmas. If you need a space to host your event or your family get-together, Flight Deck Restaurant can help. We can accommodate parties from 10 to 100, everything from setup to cleanup. Now, most importantly, during this wonderful Christmas, we at Flight Deck and our families want to thank our Father in Heaven for sending Jesus to be our Lord and Savior. Thanks, y'all, and may God bless you, and may God bless America. Merry Christmas.
Hi, this is Joel Lurie. I'm the host of Health Matters every Monday morning from 9 to 10 right here on 100.7 The Point. Join me as we talk about issues impacting your health and our community. It's Health Matters every Monday at 9 a.m. right here on The Point.
With the holiday season upon us, so too is the spread of respiratory illnesses such as COVID-19. Dr. Stephen P. Furr, president of the American Academy of Family Physicians, is here with more.
Friends and family spend more time together during the holiday season, which can make many people a target for infectious respiratory viruses, such as COVID-19. The good news is that updated COVID vaccines remain free of cost for children and adults and are still the best way to protect yourselves and loved ones.
The CDC recommends that everyone 6 months and older get one dose of an updated COVID-19 vaccine to protect against serious illness. Here's Dr. Tochiyoroku Maliz, board chair of the American Academy of Family Physicians.
We've come a long way in our fight against COVID-19, in large part thanks to vaccines that can protect you from the worst outcomes of the disease. If you have questions about the latest COVID-19 vaccine recommendations or how to receive your updated vaccine free of cost, your family physician can help.
To learn more, visit covidvaccineproject.org/cover. We are back on Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Let's get to your phone calls. 888-898-2525. We got recruiting coming up. We'll hear from Brownell and Paris as they preview the big game. Oh, by the way,
historic game tomorrow night, by the way, too.
And that is because
it's the first time in the 172, now 173rd meetings between these two that both are 7-0 this and undefeated, I guess, this late in the season.
Wow.
Never has happened before.
Also, I said earlier, 15-game winning streak for Clemson. Actually, in reading the notes, I read that 15-game winning streak, but that was what they had before they lost at home last year. They had a 15-game winning streak at one point. So, of course, I misread it, misconstrued it. They do not have a 15-game winning streak, as you told me during the break. They got beat at home in the NIT.
Yes.
To end last year. So, obviously, they have not won 15 in a row, but still, they've been very good at home. And we'll talk more about it. But I tell you what, Clemson shooting, they are among the best in the country at shooting the three right now. Their combination, their inside-outside combination right now is very, very good. We'll break the game down more and talk more about it coming up. But right now, let's go
before you go to the calls, just if it makes you feel a little better, I think most Clemson fans out there would probably like to pretend that NIT game never happened. So they probably would like that you continue their 15-game home winning streak.
Well, actually, I think they had lost even prior to that.
They had. Yeah, they won their last three at home.
Yeah.
Before
but I should have known, should have remembered that they lost in the NIT which would have ended any winning streak, and certainly not have them at a 15. All right, let's go to Ron in Greenville. First call tonight here on Sports Talk. Ron, welcome in. It's good to have you with us.
Hey, Phil, I appreciate it. I got a question for you. If you will, break down the Clemson, South Carolina basketball game tomorrow night. Who is favored, you know?
I can check for you in just a second. As far as breaking it down, well, as I said just a moment ago, Clemson having a great year shooting the basketball from deep with Joe Girard leading the way there. They are in the top 20 in the nation in that category. Their numbers so far this year in several categories rank very high nationally. So, it's kind of all come together for them. I think we're going to see a potential 3-point shootout between Girard. They are 12th nationally in assist to turnover ratio. They are 9th nationally in 3-point shooting percentage. They are 14th in 3-pointers per game. They are, of course, tied with others for number 1 in winning percentage. So they got a lot of good numbers going their way. I think Clemson's going to win this one at home. I just think their combination of being at home, their size inside, Shiflin gives them a big rebounder inside. He had 17 boards the other day. And I think South Carolina, now we'll have to see how much Murray Bowles is able to play for South Carolina. If he's able to give them some quality minutes, that will be another player off the bench for them that can give them some depth. But I think Clemson's too strong. P.J. Hall, Shiflin, Girard, Hunter's playing very well. Hunter's a terrific point guard for them. They got Wiggins going off the bench the other day, playing at home again. Yeah, I think I kind of lean Clemson's way. What do you think, Chris?
I think Clemson may win it, but it is not going to be easy. The Gamecocks can defend, and that's one thing that I think Lamont Paris has been most pleased about his team. Plus, I mean, how can you count out the factor in the Gamecocks if they continue to shoot it? Phil, you want to talk about Clemson shooting it. USC hit a school record 18 threes against George Washington the other night. I mean, if they shoot it like that, I promise you they'll beat Clemson. They'll beat a lot of teams. They'll beat Kentucky in Kentucky. I mean, that's how good they were from the perimeter. Now, you can't count on that every night, but I think Johnson is playing well, and the X factor has been B.J. Mack and his ability. And I think Coach Paris touched on this yesterday about his team. What's the biggest difference? They've got older guys. Miles Studi has fit in really nicely. Talon Cooper has played really, really well for them as well. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a terrific game. I think Clemson's favored 5-6 points. That's probably okay.
8.5.
I think if it's 8.5, I think I'd take the Gamecocks. Clemson to win, but I think the Gamecocks to cover because USC is going to play some defense against them.
All right, Ron, 8.5 is the spread. What you going to do with it?
Well, I would have to I might take South Carolina 8.5. But I tell you what, P.J. Hall's healthy this year, and that's going to make a big difference, I think.
He's first team all ACC if he stays healthy.
Yeah. Maybe more than that. Maybe All-American.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's one of the best players in the country
There's
right
no
now.
doubt.
Yeah. But let me tell you one more thing. You made me happy a while ago when you're talking about the putt golf course you guys are going to open up. You're not going to believe this, but when I was a young kid, not kid, but teenager, I was a professional in putt golf course.
I think I remember that. I think you were on the professional putters tour, weren't you?
I sure was.
That's amazing. I used to watch that every weekend.
We drive down to Miami one week. Next week we might be in Fayetteville, North Carolina. But yeah, there was about 4 of us would hook up every Friday night and we'd go, out of town and play the tournament on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, that's fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Ron. Good hearing from you.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it. Clemson, 8.5-point favorite. What does everybody else think? 888-898-2525. I just think the combination of Hall and the others inside with their outside shooting, I just think it's going to be too much Clemson, plus the home court. They haven't won 15 in a row now, but they did have a 15-game home winning streak, and that's something to consider when you go up there and play the Tigers, especially the way they're playing right now. And they've got the attention of their fans. I imagine that Little
If
John's
that
going
place
to be
isn't
packed.
sold out tomorrow, Brad Brownell ought to walk out and say, I'm done. Because I don't know what else he's got to do. Because you've got two teams coming in there. They're ranked inside the top 25. Gamecocks is on the outside right now, both at 7-0. What else are you asking of your fans? If they're not excited about them now, both teams, I don't know what else they can do.
Yeah. And let me get the name right, Shefflin. I know that.
Yes.
Shefflin. Want to get it right. 888-898-2525. Let's go to Rodney in Mount Pleasant. Rodney, welcome to Sports Talk. How are you?
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, rather, Phil and everybody else.
By having you on, by the way, hang on. That reminds me of a story I saw that was reported by HBCU Sports, I think it was, that State had offered the football coaching job to Coach Berry at Benedict.
Yeah, really? I saw that. Game day, HBCU game day. Also, this is my take on it. I'll give you a little bit more deeper details that you might have seen in that, may or may not. Unfortunately, he's not in low demand. He's in high demand. The two SWAC schools, Texas Southern as well as Southern University, there in Baton Rouge, are interested in his services. He's actually been a coordinator at Southern, I think it was about 7 years. So that's the only problem. And it's not just at the high level, but FCS can have that issue as well. When you go after somebody, you hope your offer is strong, but other places who are serious about football as well, and I'm pretty sure you're aware, Texas as well as in Louisiana, football is a priority. They had a guy that was above 500, I think, with both of his 2 seasons, and they pretty much said he didn't get along with the alumni, evidently good enough, and they tossed him to the curb. They were willing to pay him to leave at a SCS level in order to move on. So my issue with that is I'm going to bring it to the state of South Carolina. Your talk show, sports show, of course, touches every part of South Carolina and beyond. I want to know, does the state of South Carolina, as far as the real football fans out there, think that we need to support South Carolina State's effort to have Coach Berry be the coach? And the reason I say that is you have Clemson and you have Carolina. Coastal Carolina, of course, is a FBS level. Unfortunately, they just haven't got the traction, so to speak, of being at that level. But the thing I'm getting at is, it's good to say I wish him the best and that type of thing, but similar to how the bigger schools have to put their money where their mouth is, if I think the last time I checked the population, 5.3 million exists in the state, and it has grown probably. But since this is a tourist state as well, we constantly have people coming through here back and forth. If people just donate $5 by that type of amount, it would blow other FCS schools here in the state just alone out of the water. And we have the track record to warrant it. But the thing about it is, talk is cheap. People will give you a pat on the back, but then they don't do what they say they're going to do. So I want to ruffle feathers, but at the same time, it's true. It's an excellent person. He has ties, believe it or not, through association. I think if I did the math correct, Coach Brick McNeil, Phil, you may remember him. He's a state grad. He had 2 stints as being a head coach, and he was offensive coordinator under Coach Jeffries. He actually, Coach Chaney was actually at Savannah State, I think, when Brick was there as an offensive coordinator. Now, if that doesn't show you how full circle can come, if he's able to be the next coach of SC State, he'll end up being a head coach where his coach actually went to school at and can put him in the right direction, because both of them have offensive mind, but they still have the ability to run our overall program. So the other thing real quick is the NIL.
Mm-hmm.
We have two excellent players that and this is the thing I need your input on. I think you said it. Do players actually know that they have the ability to come back? I think from what I understood, you have to put your name in the pot to show people that you want money, so to speak, as far as a deal. So I'm wondering if they are, because there's several state graduates or people who are friends of the school that could, sponsor them, but they may not be aware of the rules. So it's one of those things where people such as myself or other people have to educate the businesses to know, look, this person gets you your bang for your buck. But right now, their mindset is, unfortunately, Mr. Barber, our defensive tackle, I think he thought he had to leave to make it to the next level, meaning the pros, when he has people within this 5-year decade that have made it to the pros from SC State. So I'm going to be quiet and let you respond, but I'll be back in touch with you by tomorrow. But I think the Board of Trustees meet on Wednesday. Before Wednesday, I want the school to know that there are plenty of people that will put their money where their mouth is. Get Coach Chennisberry there, but also make sure he has an excellent staff. South Carolina State represents this state very well and can in the future, but we have to support it without a doubt.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, you're going to probably have to step up and do something. Being over at State for a couple of days for the state championships, I mean, they have a fine stadium. Oliver Dawson Stadium, I mean, it could stand some updating for sure in a lot of areas, particularly the elevator, yeah. But locker rooms and, maybe another few coats of paint. It's a beautiful layout. I mean, I love the stadium. It's big enough to handle what they do at South Carolina State. I really like the state campus in that area, in that you've got the Coliseum and then you've got the stadium within a few hundred yards of one another. You got a lot of parking there. I'm sure there's a lot of great tailgating and socializing that takes place outside the stadium walls prior to games. It's a really good setup. But they've had financial issues there. They've had financial issues over many, many years that have stymied them in some way. They've overcome. The football program's been able to overcome that with Buddy Pugh in a lot of ways. But a new coach coming in is going to want new things, and he wants to see some a shiny new coat put on what he's inheriting. At Benedict, a smaller level, they've done some things. They've redone. They built Coach Berry an entire new football office building. We were in it in August. It's very, very nice for that size school. I think a new weight room facility as well was built. They've done things around their stadium. Again, that's on a smaller scale, but he has certainly proven that he is an excellent coach. From Albany to Benedict, and perhaps that, and it was sort of the no-brainer thought that when Buddy Pugh announced this was going to be his last year, that Coach Berry's name was going to pop up.
Barry came from Southern, by the way. Just a quick correction there. He was the OC offensive line coach there from 2013 to 2015. Then he was the associate head coach, offensive coordinator, and offensive line coach from 2016 to 2019. Then he came to Benedict, and you're exactly right there, Phil. He's done tremendous things. I mean, 11-0 regular seasons back to back, or 11-0 records back to back before losing in the playoffs. This year, they were the number 1 seed and lost to Lenore Ryan, who were the 4th seed by 10, much closer than last year. The season ended, unfortunately, against Wingate in a bit of a blowout. But he's done a really, really good things there with minimal things at his disposal. To your point, the resources they are now starting to provide for him, you got to think would at least be enticing to keep him around. And those are things that Benedict did not really have a whole lot of when he did get there, aside from a nice stadium.
All right, how many mistakes am I going to make tonight? He hasn't even ever coached at Albany. You're right.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we give the guys respect.
No, that's right. Yeah, if I make a mistake, may call it out. Let's see, 15-game winning streak. No. Coached at Albany. No. What was my other mistake? There was 3. I made a mistake that I made a mistake. So that counts as my third mistake.
You weren't muted on the stream, so there was an echo.
I didn't mute the stream. That was my third. This happens when I drive 2.5 hours before going on the air, haven't had a chance to get my head together.
That and the 1,200 kids going into the transfer portal so far that you're trying to keep up with.
Yeah,
So,
well,
yeah.
some of them.
Understand.
All right, let's go to the break and let me regroup personally. Phone number is 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. We'll come back and take your phone calls. Football Scoop is reporting that Middle Tennessee is going to name Derek Mason as their new head coach after parting ways with Rick Stockstill. Derek Mason, the former, he did coach at Vanderbilt, didn't he?
Yes. You got that one right. Yes.
Got that one right. I think he also coached in the NFL. Allegedly heading to Middle Tennessee. Be right back. The stars do shine brighter at the beach as some of the best senior high school football players in South Carolina will be on display Saturday in the 76th annual Touchstone Energy Cooperative Bowl. This is Phil Kornbluth. Be sure to join us for our broadcast starting at noon from Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium. We'll have it all from kickoff to postgame, plus the announcement of Mr. Football at halftime. That's the Touchstone Energy Cooperative Bowl this Saturday at noon on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Farm Bureau Insurance's agricultural roots and ties to South Carolina farmers have shaped the company's culture and work ethic, providing a unique customer experience. Customers are treated like people, not policies. Now, while other insurance companies may have a one-size-fits-all approach to handling customers, we believe you need to be valued and treated right. Our claims professionals work until the job is done, and our agents still believe in the commitment that comes with a handshake. Call Buddy Bridges in Clinton and Lawrence at 864-923-2174 for all of your auto, home, and life insurance needs.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Major Billy Downer here from the Department of Natural Resources, and DNR is excited to announce the implementation of Go Outdoors SC, a new online licensing and boat titling system that you can access right from your phone. Through this new system, customers can purchase their hunting and fishing licenses, renew their boats, apply for lottery hunt opportunities, and complete electronic harvest reporting requirements. For more information, visit Go Outdoors SC at your local app store.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. If you or a loved one are over 65 and haven't completed a long-term care planning consultation, now is the time. Did you know that if you aren't able to afford the high cost of skilled care, your assets can be rapidly depleted to only $2,000 unless you plan 5 years in advance? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Discover holiday magic with Founders Federal Credit Union. Now through December 31st. Make your holiday shopping merry and bright with our special 7.99 APR rate on select holiday purchases made with your Founders credit card. You need to hurry though. This rate will be gone as fast as the holidays. Visit foundersfcu.com/cc to save big this holiday season. Call 1-800-845-1614 for details about credit costs and terms.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Football season is upon us, and that means Columbia is welcoming fans from around the corner and across the country. No matter where you're from, Gamecocks love coming together for game day energy that can only be found in South Carolina's capital city. Book hotel rooms, find pre- and post-game activities, and plan your tailgate spread with local favorites from pimento cheese to barbecue at experiencecolumbiasc.com. We'll see you soon, and go Gamecocks!
All right, coming up on the top of the hour, but let's get you more phone calls before we get there. Is it Brian or Bobby next? I see number 3, number 4.
So we are going over to Newberry next. Yep.
Bobby and Newberry. Bobby, Newberry. Welcome in, Bobby and Newberry.
Hey, Phil. I'm a Dale Earnhardt fan, so I'm guarantee you number 3 is great for me. But guess what?
You know how you count to 4 if you're an Earnhardt fan, right? 1, 2,
Yeah.
Dale, 4. Go ahead.
There you go. But my question is, basketball has had it where you have students that come in, players, and they're one and done. They go away. Football now and other sports is with the NIL and everything is, 1, 2, whatever, 3. If a student gets to there and graduate, I have no problem with that. But these one and dones or two and dones, people support these colleges with their money to pay for scholarships. When is it going to be something put in where, hey, you get paid to leave, repay the money you got to get there?
Well, now, a couple of things here real quick. Keep in mind, some of these transfers, maybe even a majority of them right now, of, shall we say, lesser named players, they're being asked to leave. They're being told to leave across the country because schools now want to go to the portal and replace and try and upgrade. So they're telling players, they're kicking players to the curb. So
okay,
I would say in some cases, and if you want to hold on, we'll continue after the break. I would say in some cases, maybe many cases, you got players who have no choice but to leave because the scholarships are only a one-year deal. We'll pick back up on your comments after the break.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The presidents of Harvard, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology told the House today they were taking steps to combat anti-Semitism on their campuses since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. During the House Education Committee hearing, Chair Virginia Fox says Harvard, MIT, and the University of Pennsylvania have a lot of work to do in fighting hate.
Institutional anti-Semitism and hate are among the poison fruits of your institution's cultures. The buck for what has happened must stop on the president's desk, along with the responsibility for making never again true on campus.
The university leaders said there was a fine line between protecting free speech and allowing protests while also combating anti-Semitism. Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville says he's ending his blockade of most military nominees.
I'm releasing everybody. I still got a hold on, I think, 11 four-star generals. Everybody else is completely released from me. Now, somebody else might, I think a few other people got holds on 1 or 2 or 3 people. But other than that, it's over.
The controversy was sparked by Tuberville's objections to the Pentagon abortion policy under the Biden administration. House Republicans are preparing a vote to formally launch an impeachment inquiry against President Biden in the coming days. House Speaker Mike Johnson says this is not a political stunt.
You're seeing a very deliberate investigation uncovering and following the facts, following the truth where it leads. That's what the Constitution requires the House to do.
The probe is being done to find out whether the president and his family engaged in corrupt business practices. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 79 points, the NASDAQ rose 44. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Here's something for all you gentlemen that haven't gotten your special someone a holiday gift yet. This Christmas, Pajamagram has your back with a deluxe gift set for that special lady in your life. This gift set includes the smooth satin nightgown and robe, plus a free satin eye mask, all wrapped in an elegant satin keepsake bag. That's 4 gifts delivered right to your door, ready to go under the tree. She'll love it. And what about the other wonderful women you'd love to spoil this holiday season? Whether it's your wife, sister, daughter, or your mom, Pajamagram has you covered. Go to pajamagram.com and see all they have to offer, including luxurious velvet sets, cozy signature fleece sets, matching couple and family sets, and so much more. Make your gift even more special by adding a name or monogram to any of their personalized pajamas. Everyone loves pajamas, and a pajamagram is the perfect way to treat someone to a little relaxation. Visit pajamagram.com today.
A new study finds that students around the world suffered historic learning setbacks during the COVID-19 pandemic. Correspondent Rita Foley reports.
The study says that the average international math score fell by the equivalent of 3/4 of a year of learning. Reading scores fell by the equivalent of a half year. The test is conducted by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, which looks at 15-year-olds. So how did the U.S. do? The average math score fell by 13 points, but it was still about even with the international average. Reading and science scores in the U.S. stayed mostly even. The U.S. ranked number 6 in reading and 10th in science. I'm Rita Foley.
It was the first study to examine academic progress in dozens of countries during the pandemic. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool overnight with a low dipping down to 41. Tomorrow, all kinds of sun and a nice breeze to go with a high temp of 58. The sun continues the rest of the week. We stay dry and cooler with highs in the upper 50s and lows in the 30s. Friday, some clouds roll in, but we're back into the 60s. I'm Casey Whitener with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours. Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family. Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, Pat Daniel. Gavin is also in our studios tonight, so gang's all here. 888-898-2525 is your phone number. Update some basketball real quick. Boston College 56, Central Connecticut 28, Tennessee 28, George Mason 20, Queens 36, Winthrop 33, El Cid 2, Pfeiffer nothing. I like 2-0 games. Western Michigan 8-7.
If it stays there, Phil, we've got a story.
We do.
If that's the final, we've got a story.
Western Michigan 8-7 over Notre Dame. Merrimack 6-2 over Florida. Virginia 12-4 over North Carolina Central. Still to come tonight, you got Georgia Tech and Georgia. You got North Carolina UConn tonight, 9 o'clock. That should be a lot of fun.
That should be a really good game.
Tomorrow night, of course, South Carolina at Clemson. Tigers favored by 8.5. And we'll hear from the coaches in a little bit. One other score of note in the Big Ten, Wisconsin leading Michigan State 9-2. 888-898-2525. Back to Bobby, who was with us as we hit the break. So, Bobby, back with you. And, yeah, as I was saying, you know, you were talking about guys leaving and all that. So keep in mind that a fair number of these guys, I believe, are guys who don't have a place where they currently are. They're being told to go look somewhere else. So,
and I acknowledge that, Phil, but I'm talking about the high dollar folks that are leaving, you know, before they get consistency anymore.
Well, let's look at Juice Wells as an example. Now, I mean, we were told that he had an $800,000 NIL deal. This was last summer, and I believe my source on this because I think he should know. And so South Carolina pays him this ton of money through their NIL deal, and then he gets hurt and he can't play, and they give him excellent medical care, taking him to a specialist in Charlotte, doing everything they can to get him healthy so he can come play and help him out. They spent a ton of money on this guy this past year, both on and off the field. And what do you get for your thanks? Boom, I'm out the door to go seek more riches somewhere else. I mean, to me, there's something about being grateful. There's something about loyalty. And I think we're losing a lot of that in this era of, me first and pay me, and chasing the almighty dollar to the highest bidder that might not be in your best interest to go somewhere else.
The grass is not
open up for the first time tonight. If you want to join in, 888-898-2525. Andy, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Well, I'll tell you this, when the grass is lined with a lot more $100 bills than the other grass, it is a lot greener on the other side.
Good point.
I've never seen somebody unhappy on a jet ski. Just saying, money does tend to buy happiness sometimes.
Okay, that's not the reason I called. I haven't heard y'all discuss this at all. I don't know if you saw it. Did y'all see what was in the paper? And I mean, it's really not a newspaper, but the state paper Sunday regarding the South Carolina High School League?
Let me think. Now, first of all, it is a newspaper. They just raised my rates, and probably yours too, Bobby. And secondly, the high school. Oh, you mean about the state legislature trying to create some kind of laws?
Moving into the Department of Education?
Yeah, that's not the first time that's come up. Where's it headed, you think?
I think it's headed where they need to leave it alone. They should worry about legislative things, not school things. And just like walking Trump out in the halftime, I mean, come on, let's quit the politics. The athletics shouldn't be involved in politics. And what's wrong with that? I mean, we're going to have to pay Jerome Singleton unemployment if we did that. So that'll come out of our pockets. I mean,
here's the dilemma. Here, you're talking about it on the high school level. Okay, cool. But here you've got the colleges who have gone.
They're not talking about colleges, Phil.
No. I understand that. I'm citing another example where an athletic body is seeking government help in doing their business. And is this something the high school league is seeking, or this is something that some representatives are looking at and saying, hey, we need to step in and take over high school sports in this state? We can do it better than the high school league can.
Well, you know Jerome Singleton much better than I do. Do you think he went somewhere and told him he can't do the job?
Well, look, Jerome Singleton will tell you he only does the job by the letter of the rule book, and that his bosses are the principals and the superintendents and those who sit on the executive committee. They, when Jerome makes a ruling, he'll tell you this. When something is brought,
he's told it to me to my face. Yeah.
He goes by the letter. There's no gray area with him. He goes by the letter of the law in the book, and then he leaves it up to the appeals process, the executive committee, and then the appeals committee to sort it all out. So one thing about Jerome Singleton, he's always run the high school league when it comes to enforcement that way. If it's in the book, there's no gray area for him. If it's in the book, that's the rule, then you can appeal it, up the ladder and then get your relief if possible.
Well, how many legislators are involved in the appeals process in the South Carolina High School League at this point in time?
That would be I think zero, because the executive committee is all made up of high school folks, principals and ADs, right? And then the appeals. Now, the appeals panel, then it goes to an appeals panel. And I'm not 100% sure who constitutes the appeals panel. Does that go to some legislative people? I'd have to go back and look and see. Maybe somebody can straighten that out for me, but I don't know, to be honest with you, when it gets to that second level of appeals. The executive committee can make a decision, and if you disagree with it, then you can take it to this appeals panel. I'd have to look up and see who makes up that appeals panel. Maybe Gavin can look that up for us.
My feeling is this, Phil. When our Department of Education here in South Carolina, we're the 46th ranked state in education. Why should those bozos take over the sport if they can't even take care of education? Let them take care of the education first, get it up to a decent level, and then maybe we can consider letting them take it on sports that's involved in the high schools.
Do you know how long we have been 46th or 47th or 48th in the country in education? We have been there as long as you and I have been alive. I don't think the state has. I don't think the state's ever been out of the 40s since I've been around. I've always heard this, thank goodness for Mississippi or South Carolina would be last in a lot of things.
Right. I was going to say 46, we're high. That's high for us right now. So maybe they think they're doing such a great job that they can handle other things.
Just shows you that money can't fix everything. They keep throwing money after the problems, and the problems don't improve. So it's got to be something else. Why do you keep throwing money at something? Maybe you need to look at, I don't know, people or philosophies or approaches. I mean, I don't know.
We have enough money in the state budget. I think over half of the state budget goes to education. Money is not fixing the problem, and more money certainly would not fix the problem. And to Andy's points, the state newspaper actually had a survey of about 20 athletics directors around the state, and only one of them said they wanted the Department of Education to handle athletics. Everybody else said no. Leave the government out of this, and I agree with them.
To your point,
last thing.
How many times has our governor in this state been caught misappropriating state funds too? I mean, let's face it. There has been. Yeah, I'm in my 30s right now, and I can name at least a dozen different examples in my lifetime of public officials in our state taking our hard-earned money and lining their own pockets or misappropriating it in some other way. See, I'm with you. I don't want them having anything to do with that.
I mean, we're talking about they're going to have to use multipliers to figure out if some of these charter schools should move up or down. We're going to let someone who's 46 in education use multipliers? I mean,
have you not heard of something called a calculator?
They probably can't even use one of those. They're 46.
Coach Mike Anthony, who is he's got an angle from both sides. He's a former coach, teacher, and a representative. He just texted me and said the appeals board, the final appeals board, is appointed by the legislature. So
yeah, but it's not them.
It's not them, but they appoint those who are on there. Andy, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have a great day, fellas.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. Appreciate it. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. I think we got a little time here for more calls. If you want to jump on board. Yes, sir.
Andy's question and points, and I agree 100% with him about keeping politics out of sports. Oftentimes, it's not sports that bring in the politics. It's the politicians butting in and having no business, i.e. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, who I kind of like. But he is actually wanting to sue somebody. I don't know who he would sue, but he's actually hoping to be able to sue the College Football Playoff Committee, the NCAA, whomever, because Florida State did not get into the college football playoff. Here's a guy who's got a campaign to be our next president of the United States. He's running one of the biggest states in the union. And his biggest concern right now is Florida State not getting into the college football playoff.
Well, he's representing part of his constituency there.
He's running for election.
Let me remind him of this. He may not be aware because he was debating the governor of California the other day, and he's in Iowa a lot, this time of year. The starting quarterback for Florida State has a broken leg and cannot play. He accounted for over 50% of their total offense this season. They are not the same team without Jordan Travis. And in this system, which is not an NFL system, people who want to use the injury to Trevor Lawrence as an example of Florida State, that's apples and oranges. The NFL has a system where you play your way into the postseason. Sure. The colleges do not. They have a system where a group of people using a subjective approach, not an objective approach. They make a decision on your worthiness, and they look at injuries. And your quarterback is hurt. He is out. You scored 10 points in your last game without him. So
how many did they give up?
Florida State is not one of the top 4 teams in the country without Jordan Travis. With Jordan Travis, they're probably 2 or 3, but they're not top 4. It's unfortunate. If they shouldn't have played him against why was he playing against North Alabama to begin with when he broke his leg? Maybe they shouldn't have played him. This is the risk you run. They're not a top 4 team without their quarterback.
Their resume, Phil, though, is a top 4 team.
But the team in reality, on paper, yes. In reality, no. They would get smoked by whoever they would play in the semifinals.
How do we know this?
Because I said
That's the same thing we heard last year about TCU had no business, and they went in and made it to the finals.
Yeah, and what happened to them?
Well, they got beat by Georgia. Georgia would have beaten anybody that day. Georgia was extremely good.
That just wasn't beat. That was
a really good Georgia team.
That was illegal.
When
what
my
Georgia did to
11-year-old
TCU should have gotten Kirby Smart 15 to 25 in a federal prison. That was
65 to 7.
Down somebody. Yeah,
the guy's got enough problems with the law.
Let's go to Tom.
They lost by
Sumter.
7 touchdowns.
By the way, Alan Smothers volunteers to run the high school league. He thinks he's the man for the job, the bad boy.
Good idea at all.
Let's go to Tom in Sumter. Tom, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you? Good to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, this is not what I wanted to talk about, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. And I know y'all don't want to either, but I heard you talking about the South Carolina 49 schools in the country. Well, the fact is, there are parts of the state where the schools are as good as any schools in the country anywhere. They're just isolated in specific parts of the state. And in those areas where the best schools of South Carolina exist, take a look at the teacher pay compared to the other districts where the educational standards are much lower. So money, in some ways, does make good schools. But I know the other thing I'll say, anybody who knows anything about schools will tell you that which determines the educational level of a school is the educational level of the parents coming into those schools. There's only so much the schools can do. I don't know what you do about that. Again, I don't want to talk about that, so that's enough of that. I did want to address this whole loyalty thing of today's players. I would suggest that the only reason, quote, loyalty existed before the transfer portal and NIL, these players were basically held hostage. They had no leverage to do anything about their situation. They are no less loyal now than all the coaches have ever been. Coaches are constantly chasing the money. Coaches have constantly looked what's better for them in another situation. All the players are doing right now is, because they're no longer being held hostage, is doing what college coaches have done since eternity. And I don't think saying today's players are less loyal than other players is looking at the picture properly.
Yeah, good point. I guess we look at coaches as being mercenaries and players the same way. I was just citing, and I hear what you're saying, but would you agree with this? I mean, when you're a player and player X and you're making almost $1 million, you're making $800,000 in your NIL deal, and you get hurt and the school takes great care of you, does everything to get you healthy, takes you to a specialist and all that, and spends all this money on you, but you don't get to play, but you're pocketing the money and everything that comes with it. Do you think maybe there's just a little piece of you, just a teeny weeny little piece of you that might say, you know what, I'm coming back because these people were good to me, that paid me well, took care of me when I was hurt, did everything. I'm sticking. I'm not chasing the dollars somewhere else. Do you think maybe?
Yeah, I think there should be a little bit of that. But how many coaches were hired by a school that took a chance on them that let them survive a few seasons where they weren't so well. And then the moment they have that, the first time they get to the Sweet 16 for one of these little schools, they forget those 10 or 15 years they were at that school that stood by them through the lean years, and bingo, they jump right to where the money is. So, but loyalty is something decided on person-by-person basis. My point is, I don't think it's any different with today's generation. It's just what's different is the system allows players to do the same thing the coaches have proven they are always willing to do for the most part.
I can't argue with that. Thank you. Do you think people, thank you for your phone call. So, do you think people are mad at coaches? Do you think people are now have always begrudged coaches for up and running for the money?
Yes.
And now we're hearing it now with the players doing the same thing. It's like nanny boo boo, you did it. Now we're doing it, and
I think
can't
people
say
have
a
always
thing
been
about
angry.
it.
I don't think that's a new phenomenon.
I mean,
I mean to jump in there, Chris, but look at how angry Duke fans are at Mike Elko. Mike Elko publicly throughout this season talked about how much he loved Duke, and he loved how much money they'd put into new facilities and upgrading the stadium and basically doing everything he asked them to do. He publicly said after the Clemson game how he wanted to be in Duke forever and loved the environment and look at what we've done here when everybody was storming the field and whatnot. He talked about how much he wanted to be there, and now all of a sudden Texas A&M opened up and he just walked out the door. I don't see that being any different. Wrong.
No, and I think Pat has been pretty standard with this opinion that it's about time the players get this opportunity. I think the one thing that bothers most people, and keep in mind coaches lie, Nick Saban was never going to Alabama when he was the head coach in Miami too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, coaches have been lying about other jobs forever. But I think that the bigger problem that most fans have, if you're a college fan, there's one of two things. You either grew up as that fan because your parents went to school there, or you went to school there. So you look at players differently because 9 times out of 10, your coach did not attend the university for which you pull. Like Dabo Swinney did not go to Clemson. Shane Beamer did not go to South Carolina. But the players there, well, they're just like me. They went to the university. And when they leave, I think it hurts a lot worse for fans than it does when the coach hurts. But or leaves rather. But I think you're right, Pat. I think they get upset. And I understand Duke fans being upset, just like Dolphins fans were against Nick. When Nick Saban said the week he took the job at Alabama, he was never going to be the head coach at Alabama. And coaches lie. Players lie.
And LSU fans, I would imagine a lot of LSU fans still hold a grudge against Nick Saban. That is one of the things that plays into that LSU-Alabama rivalry. I realize it was a rivalry before that too, but that certainly plays a role every time those two teams face off because he left after right after a natty or maybe a year later at LSU to then go take that Dolphins job and then ended up coming right back to a rival within the division. So I would imagine there's still some hard feelings there too.
There's no doubt.
The coaches all-SEC team announced today 3 Gamecocks are on it. Hunter Rogers selected as the first-team long snapper. Xavier Legette named to the second team, and Trey Knox named to the second team as well. Knox as a tight end and Legette as second-team wide receiver. So Gamecocks have those 3 on the all-SEC team as selected by the coaches. Hard to believe Legette's not first team. No Spencer Rattler. Legette not first team receiver. The first team receivers were Malik Neighbors and Luther Burden III. Good receivers in their own right. But gosh, was anybody more spectacular than Legette, and considering what he had to do to help carry the offense? It was awfully impressive. We go to Jeff up in Honea Path. Jeff, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. It's great to have you with us.
Hey, how you doing, Phil?
Great, sir. Good to have you.
Hey, I really enjoy the show. I listen every night.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
On them education statistics, I've been doing it for about 25, 30 years or so. But, in South Carolina, everyone is allowed to take the SAT or the ACT. And that's what they base it on. Everybody can do it. There's no filters or anything. That's why that number is where it is. That's on that. Number 2 is the high school league has it exactly right. The multiplier is one of the best things that could happen If you enjoy watching two private schools play for a 2A championship and a private school that draws from multiple counties play a 7,000 person school, from their district, that ain't exactly fair. There's a league for those folks. It's called SCISA. And if you want to recruit, that's where you need to go play. It's not in the public school system. And it all started way back when with Bobby Bentley, Shell Dula, and Xavier Dye. That's when it all started. And it's
You mean
when
when Xavier Dye left Greenwood and ended up at Burns?
Under Tommy Bowden's influence, you mean? Yeah.
I don't know the backstory. Obviously, you do, or you know something.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, that's kind of what happened. That's where it all started, and that was the beginning, in my mind, of the whole transfer portal deal. College football is dealing with what South Carolina high school football coaches deal with every day, and the other callers talking about socioeconomic status and school performance. It has nothing to do with that. It has with tail whipping status. If a parent is willing to whoop a tail, a child will do well, and that's what the status is on that. But I mean, you look at Abbeville. Abbeville County is one of the poorest districts in the state, and they outperform everyone athletically and academically on state tests. And they're one of the poorest counties in the state. So,
well, how do they excel? Why do they excel on the tests as a whole?
It is expectations, it is discipline, and it is parental guidance.
Well, if you got all that going for you, you're going to have a good chance. Then I'll give you that. You got all that going for you.
Yeah,
you're going to have a good. Hey, thank you very much. Great hearing from you. Appreciate the phone call. We'll be back. We got recruiting coming up, basketball coaches, and more phone calls here on Sports Talk. Don't go away.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool overnight with a low dipping down to 41. Tomorrow, all kinds of sun and a nice breeze to go with a high temp of 58. The sun continues the rest of the week. We stay dry and cooler with highs in the upper 50s and lows in the 30s. Friday, some clouds roll in, but we're back into the 60s. I'm Casey Whitener with your On Point local weather.
Hey, this is Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscaping Lawns. Is it time for a new lawn? You need to start with a smooth gray done right. Then a must is a new Rainbird irrigation system that comes complete with a 1-year warranty. We will then help you know what turf is right for your yard. Tip-top Bermuda is a great turf for full sun. Then let the pros maintain your whole property and keep your new grass green and healthy and weed-free. At Midlands Landscaping Lawns, we hate weeds. So that's why you can find us at hateweeds.com. hateweeds.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. House Speaker Mike Johnson tells fellow Republicans that sweeping changes to U.S. border policy will be their hill to die on in negotiations over President Biden's nearly $106 billion package for the wars in Ukraine and Israel and other security needs. Johnson delivered the message Tuesday ahead of classified briefings the Biden administration organized to underscore how desperately the aid is needed. The Senate, in a single stroke, has approved about 425 military promotions after Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama ended a months-long blockade of nominations over a Pentagon abortion policy. Tuberville had been under pressure from both members of both sides of the political aisle to end his holds. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 79 points. The NASDAQ rose 44. This is SRN News.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair. Their team is courteous and professional. Plus, they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of our medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow. I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
And now the sounds of football from Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. Enjoy the taste of football, too, with hand-tossed pies, hoagies, wings, meatballs, hot pretzels, and over 100 beers from around the world. Mellow Mushroom, in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
Welcome back. Sports Talk Media Network. More of your calls coming up and recruiting as well. But we got a big one tomorrow night, big basketball game in the upstate at Little John Coliseum. Tip off at 8 o'clock. South Carolina and Clemson, each 7-0. The Tigers are ranked 24th this week. The Gamecocks are getting votes. A chance for one to really, it's still December. Things really are serious in January, February, though Clemson already has a 1-0 ACC record with an impressive win. I tell you, another reason I like Clemson here, they have won at Alabama and they have won at Pittsburgh. That tells me something about this team. Let's hear a little bit from both coaches to kind of preview things tomorrow night up at Little John Coliseum. We'll begin with the visiting team, the Gamecocks' Lamont Paris. He met with the media yesterday, took questions about facing the Tigers, about his team and their 7-0 start and getting ready to go up to Clemson to see if they can extend the best start this team has had since Frank Martin's team went to the Final Four in 2017. Lamont Paris from yesterday.
A little more juice to this one as opposed to last year. I know you were excited for your first one last year, but with them being ranked, both everybody undefeated.
It'll be a fun game. It'll be a fun atmosphere. Certainly it makes for a great game in that they are ranked and both teams are undefeated. It'd be great for the state, fun for the state, fun for both schools. And should be a lot of fun. There's no more or less juice to it, honestly. Just we gotta kind of continue to get better and it'll be our first true road game. And so seeing how guys respond to adversity, that'll definitely hit. And then how do we come out of the gates and how do we stick to the script and all the things that go along with that. But certainly it's a fun game for the state with both teams being undefeated right now.
The good memories for you last year, obviously in your first kind of a wild game at the CLA.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. It was, I've been in a lot of rivalry games, and so it was fun. And the way that it ended was great for the fans, and great that we were able to win. But just the drama of how it went down was really exciting for our fan base.
A lot of guys are going to go back and started talking to some of you guys. How did it?
I haven't heard a lot of that chatter yet. Typically for me, honestly, I'm going to do coach speak here. I normally try to build them the same. It's early in the season. Try to just prepare ourselves the way we do for any other game. I'm sure Brad does the same. I don't know. Maybe he tells those guys they should hate our guts. I don't know. Maybe that's how he's ready. I doubt it, but it is. It's a lot of fun rivalry. It's the only thing that's compares to being in front of your own crowd is to be in front of a hostile crowd, and that's certainly what it'll be up there. Particularly given both teams have gotten off to a really good start this year, so we're just excited to go up and be able to continue trying to play good basketball.
How does playing Grand Canyon back at the Arizona Spot actually help you guys prepare that? I remember you mentioning it felt like that.
Yeah, you get a taste of it. They had a really good crowd there. Obviously, it's in their backyard. It was in their backyard, the Grand Canyon game, and so there's a little bit of preparation for that. And so, last year I think honestly our team did a pretty good job on the road. I think most of our wins, a lot of our wins anyway, were in 2 road games. One year when I was at Chattanooga, we led the nation in road wins in the entire country. So I think part of that is just that you do prepare the same. You try to prepare the same, try to go through the same paces, try to get to the same mindset every single game, whether that's home or it's away, and then let the chips fall where they may. But so we had a good practice today. We'll try to do the same thing. But certainly the Grand Canyon game hopefully did a little bit to prepare us.
When you look at does it help that you're so comfortable being on the road given your previous success?
From a mindset standpoint, from a mindset and preparation standpoint, I think so. I've always done it that way. I've always tried to prepare to get the guys in the same exact mindset. Some of your pregame routines will be different. Sleeping in your same bed. There are a lot of things that'll be a little bit different. But from a mindset and preparation standpoint, try to make it business as usual.
Aside from the rivalry of being on the road, just from basketball, what does Clemson do well? What are they going to bring? What's the challenge facing that team Wednesday night?
They're a solid team. They got a lot of different guys that can put the ball in the basket. I think Adam Girard was a shot in the arm for them from an offensive standpoint. You got a guy like PJ Hall, who's going to be in the conversation, already is in the conversation for ACC Player of the Year. It's early, I know that, but that's the caliber of player that he is. He can hurt you from the inside, he can hurt you from the outside. So they're a versatile team. There's some similarities, honestly, between them and us. So it should be a lot of fun. They got a really good team, good defensive team. They're scrappy. They're not afraid to play physical brand of basketball. They're a versatile type team. So it'll be a good challenge for us.
All right, some comments from Lamont Paris on the Gamecock side of things, preparing to take his team up to Little John Coliseum to face the Tigers tomorrow night. A lot of intriguing matchups. I imagine B.J. Mack and P.J. Hall will square off quite a bit, though it could be Shefflin. It could be Shefflin on Mack, and either way, there's going to be a lot of banging and bumping inside with those bodies. Though Mack does tend to drift outside and shoot the three, so maybe he'll try to draw them out. Now, one thing about P.J. Hall, he will get into foul trouble. Maybe you attack him and see if you can shorten his game by putting him on the bench in foul difficulty. I would imagine that they will attack him in that manner if they can, drive to the basket. Let's go to the other side. Here is Brad Brownell. He met with the media today. Same thing, talking about the Gamecocks and his team. 7-0, ranked number 24, best start for them as a program since 2008. Brad Brownell.
Obviously, a great week for us. Last week, winning 2 road games. Proud of the way our guys played and competed on the road, but certainly nice to be back at home. Hopefully, Little John's going to be packed and should be a terrific game. South Carolina is off to a tremendous start as well. Lamont's done a really good job with their team. They shoot the ball exceptionally well from the perimeter. Can play very versatilely, if that's a word. A lot of versatile lineups with guards, bigs, and they have experience. They went in the portal and got some good players. Talon Cooper, good player locally, and really runs their team, does a nice job for them. Miles Studi from Vanderbilt can score, another old grad guy. And then BJ Mack, who we obviously played against when he was at Wofford, is a good player. So those guys have really injected their team with some confidence and just quality play experience. So Michi Johnson, obviously a very talented guy that we saw last year. And I think they do a really nice job defensively, very competitive group, very connected on defense. When you watch them on film, you're just impressed by the way they compete defensively for sure, and just kind of play the game the right way. So we have to play really well to win, but we're really excited about the game. So questions for me.
I guess when you look at South Carolina, where does the three-point shooting kind of rank in terms of your concern?
Yeah, it's a big concern. You know, they do a nice job. Obviously, BJ Mack can post their guards, so they'll invert their offense a little bit. That all works if you have shooting to space the court, and they do. And you know, it's not 1 or 2 guys; it's like 4 guys that are shooting 40%. And obviously, BJ Mack's a guy that can stretch it as a big guy. So it's certainly a concern. They don't turn the ball over much. They run good stuff. They play with good spacing, and so they put you in situations where, you know, if you're going to help, you might give some shots up. So it's obviously very sound offense, and that's part of what we'll have to deal with tomorrow.
In your years of coaching here at Clemson, has there been a time where this rivalry game has been more in the spotlight? The teams are
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we've ever both been undefeated this late in the year. We've had a year or two where it's been close. Somebody's had 1 loss, maybe both have had 1 loss. But yeah, you'd like to think, you know, football season has taken a little bit of a breather, and hopefully folks have tuned in to both teams because they both have got some quality wins. We obviously had a great week last week. Those guys have beaten Virginia Tech and Notre Dame from the ACC, so they've been playing well. Won a tournament out in Arizona. You know, we won our tournament at Asheville. So if you've been following the teams, you've seen good basketball and both teams playing well. You know, I'm optimistic that we'll have a great crowd and that there'll be a lot of folks watching on TV as well, supporting both teams.
You know, last year you talked about you'd rather that game be a little bit later.
Yeah.
Having 2 games under your belt, how does that change the dynamic?
Yeah, I just think it helps a little bit build some momentum with the season. It helps because football isn't still in full go. When it's the first week of the season, everybody has 1.5 eyes on football and half an eye on basketball. And, you know, now at least I think you can take your eyes off football for a little bit and watch this game. It's going to be a great game. I think both teams and both players, groups of players, are playing unbelievably well, and they're fun teams to watch. So I think just kind of getting it a little later in the season helps with that. And it also lets both teams, you know, begin to settle your team. We're still both trying to figure out our teams completely. Obviously, we've had some injuries with some guys. They have as well, probably. And you're just trying to put your new guys together and see how everybody fits. And stylistically, we think we want to play this way. And is it working, not working? How do we adjust? Obviously, right now for both teams, things are working well. But I think moving the game later helps a variety of reasons.
You talk about things working pretty well for your is there anything through the first 7 games you say could be better at this by?
Yeah, I mean, we need to be better defensively, to win at a really high level. I think we've had times when we've been very good and times when we've been very average. Rebounding a little bit also, but I think our rebounding at times has been really good. Like Pitt was a very aggressive offensive rebounding team. I thought we held our own. Alabama got some extra rebounds against us. We needed to do a little better job. I thought our offensive rebounding has gotten a little better, and so that helped kind of stem the tide. I think it was about even in the game. But those are a couple factors. We need to get to the free throw line a little bit more. I'd like to see us get fouled a little more to take some pressure off. Those are a couple things that just stand out right now.
All right, looking forward to a good, hot, old night in the barn up there at Little John Coliseum. Should be a good one between the Gamecocks and the Tigers. Smitty's going to be there, so he'll be with us tomorrow night to set the stage from Little John. We go to recruiting here on Sports Talk. It is brought to you by Seawells. We hope you will get to Seawells for their buffet tomorrow from 11 till 2. It's only $14, and you will walk out feeling like you spent $50 because you will have eaten such good victuals. All right. So get to Seawells for that daily luncheon buffet. You need the best in the catering business, then just give Seawells a call at 803-771-7385. Offensive guard Elijah Thurman, 6'5", 275, Hinesville, Georgia. He is going to announce on Monday afternoon Clemson, USC, Georgia Tech. The finalists took an official to Clemson November 10th, multiple unofficials to Georgia Tech. This weekend, an official to South Carolina. Looking forward to being there and checking everything out. He's been talking to line coach Lonnie Teasley. Last night, he had his first conversation with Clemson's new offensive line coach, Matt Luke. He said going into this visit, he does have Clemson number one on his list right now because they meet his expectations and what he was expecting when he went to Clemson. So that is what South Carolina has to shoot for. USC will also get a visit this weekend from receiver Jaden McGowan, 5'8", 181, transfer from Vanderbilt out of Lawrence. Interesting story because South Carolina did not recruit him the first time around. So 80 catches later in the SEC, they paid attention to McGowan and his speed, and he is coming in for an official visit this weekend. He talked yesterday morning about 7 a.m. Once his name was in the portal, he got a call from Justin Stepp, and the offer was made, and he is headed to South Carolina for a visit this weekend. You would think this would be a good opportunity for South Carolina. Indiana has also offered, and Boston College also offered today. Gamecock Central reported transfer receivers Jared Brown of Coastal and Cyrus Allen of Louisiana Tech will take officials to USC this weekend. USC target, Tennessee Tech transfer defensive back Gerald Kilgore was offered by West Virginia. He's visiting this weekend. USC target, Harvard transfer tight end Tyler Neville was offered by UCLA. Took an official to Virginia last weekend, scheduled to visit South Carolina this weekend per 24/7 Sports. Clemson safety Andrew Makuba announced for the transfer portal today, and then he was offered by Ole Miss and Oregon. Clemson freshman defensive end David Ojibi is also transferring, as is reserve running back Dominique Thomas. Texas, Tennessee emerged as schools to watch for South Carolina transfer receiver Juice Wells, according to Pete Nakos of On3. Florida State and Louisville emerged as the top ones for Oregon State transfer quarterback DJ Uyangalele, the former Tiger. That's according to Pete Themmel. Gray Collegiate product, Georgia State transfer running back Casey Adams was offered by Benedict, and 6'4" safety DeRicky Wright is transferring from Vanderbilt. I mentioned this because he was recruited by South Carolina out of high school in 2019. There you go. That is recruiting tonight here on Sports Talk. Keep a watch on it on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Use the hashtag STRecruiting to pick it up on X, formerly known as Twitter. You had something you wanted to say real quick before the break?
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. I get scheduling, but back to Clemson and Carolina tomorrow night. And I'm not trying to be funny here, but do the women actually outdraw the men's game tomorrow night? Because the ladies are playing at 7 o'clock at home.
Ooh.
And my point is, couldn't USC move the women's game? It's on ESPN Plus or whatever, so there's not I don't think, a contract with ESPN to get that one on. Couldn't they move it to about 5 o'clock so the fans don't have to have their attentions diverted? I mean, it's the men's game is a big deal tomorrow. And I'm just disappointed you're trying to put the number one team on the women's side, who deserves support as well, going up basically an hour ahead.
That's a great point. Yeah. One more recruiting note before we go to the break. USC also has offered Vanderbilt transfer wide receiver Will Shepard, who's also picked up several other P5 offers. And also the Gamecocks offered 2025 linebacker Mondrigus Daniel of Roanoke, Virginia. Okay, now we got to go to our break, and we will come back and finish it up with some phone calls. 888-898-2525. One more recruiting note as we go to the break. I keep finding my little notes. 2025 quarterback Ryan Montgomery of Findlay, Ohio, will visit South Carolina January 20th, Auburn January 22nd, and Florida on a date to be determined. Plus, some new teams are entering the picture as well, so more visits could be scheduled. Okay, to the break, and we'll be right back.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with the family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
This year's Carolina and Clemson Jackpot $5 scratch-off tickets give you a chance to win up to $200,000, whether you're a Gamecock or a Tiger. Plus, you can enter your tickets into the Second Chance promotion for a chance to step on the field or the court to win $50,000, $75,000, or even $100,000. In this state, winning the Palmetto Series does matter that much. So get your tickets today. See SCEducationLottery.com for odds and details. Winning and non-winning tickets can be entered. Second Chance odds depend on number of entries received.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
George Bryan for Tsunami Bar Sports, our inventor, David Abernathy, has always said Tsunami Bar technology allows us to take the training to the grass. Now I know through my sport of golf that natural agility can be converted to athletic ability. And why is this, Tsunami, Robbie?
Transferring the training to the grass. This may be the most undervalued characteristic of the Tsunami flexible bar technology. The Tsunami bar action loads and unloads at the concentric and eccentric transition points. This is what we call reversal forces. And the Tsunami bar is the only bar and training device that I know of that can train these reversal forces adequately at speed.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code The stars do shine brighter at the beach as some of the best senior high school football players in South Carolina will be on display Saturday in the 76th annual Touchstone Energy Cooperative Bowl. This is Phil Kornblue. Be sure to join us for our broadcast starting at noon from Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium. We'll have it all from kickoff to postgame, plus the announcement of Mr. Football at halftime. That's the Touchstone Energy Cooperative Bowl this Saturday at noon on the Sports Talk Media Network. Well, the door for Louisville for DJ Uyunglele might have just closed because transfer quarterback from Texas Tech, Tyler Shough, S-H-O-U-G-H. I would say Shough. Not familiar with him. He's transferring to Louisville. So does that close the door on DJ Uyunglele?
Could you imagine if he ends up at Florida State?
That would be a hoot. That would be a hoot.
That game's in Tallahassee next year, though. Imagine if that were in Clemson.
He would be an amazing bi-coastal player.
That would
Atlantic
be
Coast one year, out to the West Coast one year.
What if Juice Wells is at Tennessee? What if Juice Wells ends up at Tennessee? He'll face the Gamecocks next year. I think they're still on the schedule next year. You're going to see a lot of that.
That game is at Williams-Brice Stadium. Well, no.
Yeah.
Whoa. Are they playing Tennessee or is Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida not on next year's schedule for them?
Yeah, I got to go back and look at that. Pat, do we have anybody holding? Anybody holding we want to go to?
We do not. We do not.
Okay. All right, we've cleared the board. Okay. Let me update basketball then before we run out of time. 68-44, Tennessee over George Mason. Winthrop and Queens tied at 61. Citadel, 43-21 over Pfeiffer. Notre Dame, 40-34 over Western Michigan. Florida trailing Merrimack, 31-30. Virginia, 41-17 over North Carolina Central. Georgia, 19-10 on top of Georgia Tech. Boston College beat Central Connecticut, 82-68. Illinois leads Florida Atlantic, 64-59. Xavier on top of Delaware. No, make it the other way. Delaware on top of Xavier, 65-58. Anybody give? Am I the only one picking Clemson, picking the game tomorrow night? I'm going with Clemson. I'll lay the 8.
I think Clemson wins, but I think Carolina covers. I think it's a lot closer. Yeah, I think it's a lot closer than that. And the Gamecocks do not play Tennessee next year in football, so that might be a safe landing spot for Juice Wells.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think tomorrow night's game is going to be terrific. I'm so excited about it, and good props to the two teams for getting us this opportunity tomorrow night. Hope it doesn't disappoint.
Look forward to that and more. See you tomorrow.